Today, I'm joined by Duncan Callow. Duncan is the Managing Director of Lefebvre Knowledge, a distinguished UK knowledge business who is at the forefront of providing innovative AI-powered solutions in the domains of tax, HR, health, safety, and environment, as well as business law as well. So, hi, Duncan.
Good afternoon, Simon. How are you?
Yeah, I'm very well, thank you. Look, thanks very much for joining us. Uh, First of all, have I pronounced that correctly, the name of the business?
You did a great job. You passed the first test. It is
I
Lefebvre.
tried my best. I tried my best. Well, look, Duncan, tell us a little bit. I mean, I gave a little bit of an introduction there,
Yeah.
but tell us a little bit more about what the business does.
Well, it's a good question. We've been in the UK for 27 years now. Look, the clue is in the name, Lefebvre Knowledge Limited. What we do is we provide knowledge to small and medium-sized businesses and their advisors,
Mhm.
um, particularly in the domains of, as you mentioned, tax, health and safety, and HR. We were what you would have traditionally called a publisher 5 or 10 years ago, but not many people are consuming knowledge these days on paper. So we've pivoted to a pretty much a purely digital model. So we provide information about tax, health and safety, HR to our subscribers weekly, monthly, via digital newsletters, via portal websites, and via annual commentaries, which are basically sort of textbooks. So, in a nutshell, we're a knowledge business in those domains.
Right. Okay. Look, thank you for sharing that. And so, Duncan, tell me a little bit more about how you got involved in the business. How long? Well, first of all, how long have you been involved in the business?
Well, I'm the first employee. I've been here from the absolute outset. Look, I'm a qualified solicitor. I still am.
Yeah.
Many moons ago, I developed an interest in writing, and I used to write for Top Gear magazine, for What Car magazine. I wrote a couple of books about motoring law, but I found it difficult to find a way to carve a career in publishing and still be a lawyer. And then out of the blue, 25 odd years ago, I was approached by a headhunter in London and said, we're looking to recruit an editor for this startup business from Belgium. Would you be interested? And the rest, as they say, is history. So I was the first employee. I came in with this sort of unique blend of writing skills and legal knowledge and helped to grow the business from there with one newsletter, the first newsletter which we launched with, which was called Tips and Advice Personnel. And then we moved into other domains. We've grown the team to about 40 staff today. So that's basically it. And I think at the time, this job that I have now didn't really exist. I didn't think that I would be able to make a career, a sustainable career anyway, of combining law with writing. But it just shows that if you've got a flexible approach to this sort of thing, you just never know what's around the corner.
Absolutely. That's a great shout. I like that. Yeah. And so, like, okay, so things have massively changed over those sort
Yeah.
of 20, 25 years. So, and you said you've grown now from you being the first
Yeah.
employee to about, I think you said about 40 employees. Um, what's that? What have you put that growth down to? Because it must be more than just the industry growing. How's the business, um, use that platform to grow?
Well, the growth has come from finding a gap in the market.
Okay. Yeah.
Everybody knows that people like me, lawyers are very expensive, accountants are very expensive, and getting professional advice, it's a big commitment for a small business. And what we did, we kind of put together a resource for small and medium-sized businesses using our team of editorial staff, who are all professionally qualified lawyers, accountants, tax advisors, et cetera, et cetera. So we kind of scale their knowledge and expertise and disseminate it to a much wider group of businesses, so that we have thousands of subscribers up and down the country that are able to buy into our knowledge. So effectively, I would say for probably at least 50, 60, 70% of everyday legal tax and other queries, we have a solution, and it only costs, let's say, £300 a year rather than £300 an hour, which you typically pay contacting a solicitor. So we see ourselves as complementary to those traditional practitioners, but filling a definite need in the market.
Okay. So yeah. So basically, if I sort of what I got from that is that you saw a problem in the market that
Yeah.
lawyers, solicitors are expensive. and then you've gone, well, okay, how can we help to solve that problem? And that came through for the service that you provide
Yep.
now. And I guess the other thing then is, okay, so you've identified a problem, you've come up with a solution, but then one of the other key things there is making people aware of the service you offer and the benefits of it. So, and I guess that's through sort of marketing and sales and that sort of thing. So, is there anything in particular that you've done to make the market aware of this great service that you offer?
Yeah, I mean, when we started 25 odd years ago, obviously the medium was paper. So we were very much a direct marketing business. We would send out 3 issues of a newsletter for free. So prospects would get to see 24 pieces of advice for free. And then we would give them a very enticing offer to come on board for 12 months at a heavily discounted rate. Things have changed now. Obviously, we're barely using paper to do our marketing, A, because it's very expensive, and B, it's not nearly as effective. So we've pivoted, and most of our marketing activity now is done digitally via email. We're very heavy in the events space as well. So we exhibit at big events for accountants and health and safety practitioners. And we use social media increasingly as well. I mean, it's a huge market, and it's difficult to distinguish your product, if you like, because it's very noisy in there, and you've got to be saying something a little bit different. What we've been able to do in the last year, luckily, is use our AI platform to do that, to give ourselves something more to talk about, because we were actually the first to bring an AI solution to the UK accountancy market in October last year, developed by our head office in one of our offices in Madrid. So that's really given us renewed energy and impetus, and it's opened a lot of doors. And we're using that now to have conversations with tax advisors and businesses who are all increasingly aware of this AI thing, but they're not really always sure what benefits it can bring, and importantly, what it's going to cost them.
Yeah, and again, I think there's some really key points there that I'd like to highlight. What you said, the first thing is, um, yeah, that you were aware that you needed to demonstrate to people the value that you added, or that you add. So it was actually, giving them an opportunity to try. Okay, look, just see what we offer, and you can see that for free. But the other thing that you demonstrated there is how you've constantly moved forward with your marketing and your sales with what's changed in the environment and how
Yeah.
people buy and how people like to be communicated with, and also been at the forefront of that with AI as well. So you've looked forward and gone, right, okay, what's going to be the future? So,
Exactly.
and that's a real key, I think, for people to pick up from this sort of discussion, is that actually the world around us is constantly evolving and changing, in loads of different aspects, and we actually need to be aware of that and how that impacts how we communicate with people and how we market.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I read a book a few years ago called Who Moved My Cheese, which is quite
Yeah,
known, well, quite well known.
yeah, I
And
love
I
that.
really taken on board the philosophy in that book is you've got to be prepared to move, to pivot, to even anticipate what the market is going to do, because there's just no room for standing still. Because if you do, you'll go under, simply.
That's a great book, by the way.
Yeah,
It's quite an interesting book that you need to read between the lines a little
yeah,
bit, don't you, in terms of what it's saying? But it's a brilliant book.
yeah.
Okay, so what would you say is the biggest challenge that you've faced, in your business?
The biggest challenge is finding and retaining staff
Right. Okay.
for us,
Yeah.
because we look for people who are inquisitive, who are collaborative, who challenge the norm. And when you're hiring editorial staff, they tend to be quite inquisitive people anyway. But finding, like I was many years ago, people who are good at writing and good communicators is not always very easy. So I'd say the biggest challenge for us has been finding staff. Once we've got them, we've retained them. Our churn rate is extremely low. So I'm more or less happy that it's a nice place to work, and we try and look after our staff, but we always try to work with them in a collaborative way. So yeah, staff is always going to be the number one challenge for us, but it's also by far the most important thing in our business.
Look, absolutely, and so what have you done? As it, as it has been challenging to find the right people, what have you done to overcome that?
We've just had to think very laterally. We've done a lot of internal references, so we make use of our existing workforce and their networks to say, look, we've got this vacancy. Are you interested? We haven't used traditional recruiters, to be honest with you, because I think their model is quite outdated now. So the last couple of editors I've hired have come via LinkedIn.
Yeah,
Um, it involves a little bit more sifting, but I think if you're prepared to put the hours in, you will find candidates who are more committed to the role that you're trying to recruit for. And we've used social media because we've already got a presence on social media. It's quite a sort of whimsical presence, quite playful, and we've used that to entice in new members of staff also. So I think just be very lateral in your approach to how you hire staff and be flexible.
great share again. And I think there's two words that you use there that that I use with my clients when I'm speaking to them about recruiting, and that is you've got to find them.
Yeah.
So it's about rather than waiting for people to come to you, it's actually about going out and finding the people because there are people out there that are great for your business. It just may be that they're not looking for a job at the moment or to change jobs at the moment, but they're out there. So you've got to find
Well,
them. And the
we come
second,
back we come back to how this conversation started. I didn't know this job existed,
yeah,
but I was seemingly a good fit for the business. So somebody went out looking for me, and that's how it happened.
exactly. That's it. And the other word that you used there, Duncan, was attract.
Yeah.
We've got to, our businesses have to be more attractive for people to work at than our competitors.
Oh,
In which case,
absolutely.
they will choose to work for us.
Yeah.
If our businesses aren't less attractive to work for than our competitors, they'll choose to work for our competitors.
Yeah.
So
30
yeah,
years
we've got
ago,
to, in some
when
way,
I
shape,
joined the
or
job
form.
market, it was, you joined for different reasons and you kind of signed up for life, et cetera, et cetera. Now we realize we're operating in a very competitive space. People's demands and expectations have changed considerably. And we need to be the best version of our business that we can be to attract them in the first place and then to keep them.
Yeah,
And if we don't do that, then you're quite right. They'll jump ship and go and join a competitor. And it's not just about the money at all now.
no,
We're
I agree.
finding that it's the whole attitude to the work-life balance, remote working. If somebody contacts me on a Monday morning and says, "Look, Duncan, I need to take the morning off because I've got a domestic problem." Look, I understand. I'm a parent too. It's about having the kind of flexibility and the adaptability to work with your staff. And I do find that if you're prepared to give, uh, they don't take. They will pay that back to you.
You're absolutely right to highlight that. It's not all about salary. They look for, it's research has shown that people look for a great work environment, a
Yeah.
great culture, opportunities to learn, opportunities to develop, opportunities to do interesting work, flexibility. These are all the other things. So yeah, we've got to, it's got to be a fair salary for the
Yeah.
job that they do, but it's not, as you quite rightly say, it's not all about money.
No, not at all.
And so what would you say if you could wave a magic wand right now and solve one challenge in your business? What would it be?
It's peculiar to our business, but it would be data
Data.
because the quality of the data that we have is well, it's challenging because I don't know if you're aware, but there's this regulation called GDPR, which makes it very difficult to acquire new data, to get out there and reach new markets. So we're having to be very creative in terms of how we generate new contacts to feed them into our funnel so that our sales team can contact them. So if I could fix anything, it would be the quality of our data.
It's a, it's a challenging one, isn't it? Because none of us like to be spammed with
No,
things that we don't want, but we do want to know about things that would be helpful and would benefit us. So it's getting that balance between the two, isn't it? How can regulations control not being spammed with things that we don't want, but actually letting through the things that would be really interesting and helpful to us.
That's
So
a point.
yeah, it's a big challenge.
I think I don't want it, but actually I might. And if you can't
Yeah,
put it in front of me, I don't know that,
yeah,
particularly now that we've got AI. I mean, in a business context, I do think it's different from in a business to consumer environment. But I think, if I still get loads of email in a work environment, and I'm okay with that. 90% of it I'll ditch, but 10% of it might be interesting. But if we could find a magic solution to open up more data leads, that would be very helpful. But other than that, I think probably just continuing to invest in our staff, make it clear to them that they see a very clear path ahead of them, and that we will continue to invest in them. Particularly worrying for some of them is the advent of AI, because some people might think, oh, that's going to do away with a whole layer of jobs, but actually we see quite the opposite. We see it as being complementary to and supporting the roles that we do, not a replacement for.
Yeah, I think that's the key thing. And I've said before on this podcast that I don't believe that AI will replace roles. By the way, it might replace some roles,
Yeah.
but actually what will happen is, if I use myself as an example, business coaches that use AI will replace business coaches that don't. Managers that use AI will replace managers that don't.
Yeah.
That's how I see AI affecting what we do. Not that they will actually, AI will replace those people, but people that use AI will replace people that don't.
Yeah, I totally agree with you.
Yeah. And what would you say is one of the biggest learnings since you've been in business? What's your biggest learning?
I think one of the biggest learnings is to trust your instincts. I've found that over the years, I have been a little cautious about doing that, and I've been proven wrong. I think if I trusted my gut a bit more, certain decisions may have turned out more favorably. And the other thing would be, don't be afraid to pivot. It's important that if you're going down the wrong road, or you think you're going down the wrong road, don't be embarrassed. Pivot, do something else. And in our market, it's been incredibly important to keep testing. If we want to try a new incentive, then we will test it to the nth degree to make sure that it's really going to reap dividends for us.
I think that, by the way, both great learnings there. And the pivot one I find really interesting, because there's a military term that they say is that no plan survives first contact. So of course the military plan and plan and plan and plan before they do anything, but they know that once there's first contact, they're going to have to adapt, they're going to have to pivot, they're going to have to change.
Yeah.
And I think that really resonates with me, what you sort of said there. And look, there's one question that I always like to ask everybody that's kind enough to join me on this discussion, Duncan, and that's, what is the best advice that you would give to an 18-year-old you?
Oh, good question. Take more risks.
Okay, yeah.
Trust your instincts. Surround yourself with mentors. There are lots and lots of people out there that are more than happy to give you their advice, their opinion, and not charge you a penny. So surround yourself with good quality people. Trust your instincts. Take the risks. You can take risks when you're 18.
Yes, absolutely. I say, take more risks. Trust your instincts and surround yourself with mentors.
Yeah.
That's fantastic advice to anybody out there that's listening to either that's 18 or that can share with somebody that's 18. So, well, Duncan, I really appreciate you taking the time to speak with me today and sharing more about your business, but also your journey as well. So thank you very much.
It's been a pleasure.